Is it real or is he Memorex? Well, hello everyone. Hello internet. Hello world. Good morning, good night, or whatever it is, the time of day it is in your part of the world. This is be there, seen that, the big glass review where we my sister do kind of a small deep dive, or maybe a shallow dive into the current movies, mostly current movies. And we very rarely do the old ones. So today we're going to be doing before we get going, make sure you hit smash that button, swipe, and subscribe if you can, which would help us out a lot. We have very few subscribers, so the more subscribers, the better. And I'll let smash that button. Okay, before we get started though, I'm going to let my sister take over, and we're going to be talking about Ti West's Pearl, the sequel to the prequel, I'm sorry, to X.
Mm-hmm. All right, so my review is pretty short. I did enjoy the film. I really liked X better. I just liked the ensemble cast that X had. This one was interesting also. It was a great prequel, but just not as fun as the other one, if you can call a slasher film fun. She's an incredible actress. What is her name?
Mia Goth. And I think that's her real name, because I think I caught just a clip. I don't really watch a lot of these star clips, but on YouTube. But I think I've caught a bit of one. I think that's her, or on Facebook or something. I think that's her real name. She says she used to get hassled by it in London because she's a Londoner. Actually, we took the other day, we were out playing golf in Chiang Mai. I dropped a Londoner off at her house or at her place. So she's in Chiang Mai for a short time. So anyway, I guess in London, when she was going to school, she was getting a hard time with her last name being Goth, because the Goth kids and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's fantastic. She does a great job. I thought it's still a little odd that they cast her. I mean, I know that she played the older Pearl, but then she also played the antagonist or the protagonist in X. Yeah. So I was a little like,
Maxine.
I mean, I didn't question it really, but I mean, if you're gonna analyze it, I don't know if it totally worked, but anyways, I guess it doesn't matter because she's such a great actress. What do you think about that? Her playing the two roles.
Well, I'll tell you the backstory in a second about the making of it, but you can go ahead and finish your critique.
Okay. Well, she's absolutely crazy. Murders everybody. I mean, the mother knew that her daughter was crazy and tried to, keep her away from the world, and that went very badly. Very cruel person, and just like, a sad film, but she gave such a great performance. The alligator, though, again, so I went and got my lips done today. So they're a little bigger. So I was talking to the person that was doing my injections today, and I was asking her about, because I always want to move to Georgia. I've always wanted to move to Georgia, and I was telling her that probably I can't do it because I have this irrational fear of crocodiles and alligators, and irrational because I live in California. So terrible fear. So again, they brought this stupid alligator back. I hate that. So
that's supposed to be Texas. I guess.
Oh, is it?
I guess. I always had questions about that because they had corn there, and I go, does corn grow in Texas? Yeah. Because I thought the first one was Texas. So it was the same house, just later in time in the X movie. So anyway, continue. I'll go into all that in a minute.
Do they have alligators in Texas?
In East Texas, Southeast Texas, where it gets down to the swamps and into the rivers and such, because the east side of Texas is very wet, kind of like Louisiana, because you're getting into Louisiana and into the deep South. But you go further west in Texas, it gets all like deserty, like, right, and Southwest dry like California. So at least Southern California and Arizona and New Mexico and West Texas. So, but the East Texas can be wet, yes, and then they have rivers, and of course and swamps, and of course that comes with the alligators and crocodiles. Your favorite, yeah.
Cross off all those states that have crocodiles and alligators. Can't move there for retirement. So that was terrifying. I mean, really, the only thing I really have is like, it was an enjoyable film. The very end, I did leave wondering, she murdered the sister-in-law. So I don't understand how she can continue to live in that same house, that it wasn't reported that the sister-in-law was missing.
The sister
Like-
was, I assume that the sister went missing because a gator got her. So, you know, she's all chopped up and eaten by the gator. It's gonna be like, where'd she go? I don't know. I have no clue. She came by and then she left. And she's supposed to be going on that, remember, on that dance tour. So she's on the dance tour. So someone says something, she's not there. And then, of course, they come looking and then they never find her. Remember, this is the old days before computers and DNA and all these different things. Even in the Maxine version in the 70s, they didn't have any of that stuff. That's why they had so many serial killers in the old days, is because they could get away with it. They could get away with murdering 40, you know, tens of hundreds of have victims in America, the freeway killers, right? They get off the freeway, kill somebody, get back on the freeway and keep on going. Because of freeways, no DNA checks, so in the 70s was horrific, and then into the 80s with these serial killers, right?
Yeah,
and then
that doesn't make sense.
And so before that, you know, even back in her day, man, you can get away with all kind of craziness if you're smart enough, right?
Yeah, but then again, the dad's dead, the mom's dead, the sister-in-law's dead.
It's a movie. We call it.
Oh, but wrap it up a little bit better.
It's like,
you know?
where's the music, and why is there, you know, people and whatever, right?
I know, but I like to be just a little. You can just think a couple lines here and there, a couple little, you know, little things to.
Because I assume that she chops up the mother and father and feeds them to the crocodile too, or just said they died, or just let the dad die and then, you know, chop up the mother and throw her into the. So who knows, you know? It's yeah. And then she's got the husband at home to help her out, Howard. Obviously, he's around, so he's here. I am the apologist for Pearl. Well, should I tell you about the backstory though? How this all came about?
Okay, so it was a great film. Thumbs up. I give it a B. I give it a B.
A B. Okay. Me, I don't know. It was I thought it was a good character study of an insane person. You know, we don't see too many of those in the movies. You know, kind of a deep dive into some maniac's mind. You know, with a leather face, all these different characters. You don't really know. They just got masks on. They're crazy, right? You know, Michael Myers is probably as close as you can get to maybe a little bit of a insight into a madman's mind. You know, Halloween, but not. You know, I even saw that last Halloween, the very last one, and you still didn't really get to understand him that well. But with Pearl, you really do understand why she's doing all these things, even though she's doing it in a crazy way. You do understand it, right? Her motivations. Sure. So her motivations are very strong. Now, how did this get started? Well, I was wrong. Ti West is not from New Zealand. It turns out he's from Delaware, Joe Biden's state, and he decided. Again, this guy has made many movies already. He's young, but he's already made a lot of movies. They went to New Zealand during COVID to make X because there was such a lockdown in America. They decided to go to another place where there wasn't such a lockdown. So they went to New Zealand. And, you know, New Zealand's very welcoming to filmmakers, right? And so they made X. And then what happened? Somehow the lockdown continued and they couldn't get out of New Zealand. I can't remember exactly how the story goes. So they decided, as they were making X, Mia Goth and the director wrote Pearl. They wrote the script to Pearl, and as soon as they got done shooting X, they shot Pearl, back to back.
Wow.
And they said, well, he wanted to do it in black and white to save the A24, you know, the production company money. But I guess A24 really likes Ti West. He's their boy, right? Because he's their money maker. they said, now do it the way that you really think you want to do it. So he said he wanted to do it with this Technicolor look, this kind of old Hollywood Technicolor look, from the old days, even though I don't think Technicolor was even around in 1918. They did like tinted. I think the movies, they did tint some of the movies, give it a kind of a colorish look, some of those old silent films. But in general, Technicolor didn't come about until the 30s, I believe. But again, I could be my historical on Hollywood could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't into the 30s that we got Technicolor. So, but he gave it that look, right? That glossy, kind of bright. Even so, it made even the beheadings and all that stuff even more shocking in a way. Such bright reds, right? And so, in general, I enjoyed the whole film because I loved the way it tied into to X. And I love that they went back and they did that. And then they're jumping forward into the 80s to do Maxine. So you've got this this kind of nice arc, right?
Yeah.
Just springing up, which X was the original idea, but again, they went and they did the Pearl, but I guess decided that since they can't go anywhere and they're stuck, might as well do a backstory on Pearl, right?
Mhm.
But makes her crazy. So you notice that the little blemishes were fake.
Right.
I mean, you got
Yeah.
right. So, that's pretty cool. And I think I just saw a preview. Mia Goth and Gina Ortega have done a movie together, are doing a movie together. Some preview or something, but I'm not sure. But I thought I saw something like that coming. If it hasn't happened, it will happen eventually, right? They're like two biggest stars on the planet right now. So anyway, yeah, I enjoyed it. I couldn't stop watching it. I thought it was I found it triggering because I thought of the Southern Gothic. I kept thinking about our family. Our mother was raised in Texas on a farmhouse very similar to that one, even though that was supposed to be New Zealand. But one of these kind of isolated farmhouses, that's where she was raised. And I don't know, her mother, they were Baptist. So she was their household was very strict. So, and that's how your mother was raised,
Mhm.
in that kind of situation. Now, and and it seems like in Texas, because we had all these family members who want to be dancers, right? Like Isla.
Right.
So I kept thinking back about that. So the only way to get the hell out of Texas is win a dance contest. It seems, right? And Ginger Rogers won a dance contest, and that's how she got out of Texas. And Isla,
Yeah, Isla, yeah.
well, she came in second, so I don't know if that's how she got out of Texas, but she got the hell out, right? And came to California. So yeah, it was. I thought the guy went back and he kind of captured. I don't know how well he captured the time period. If I was an historian of 1918, but I suspended my belief for the era and putting all that together. That period piece. And it was like a very small cast, right?
Right.
And the mother was very good.
Mhm.
The father, didn't have to do much. Just looked with his eyes, looked like, oh my God, your daughter's insane, right? And but again, it was one of those films I actually watched. I mean, I couldn't stop watching, had to watch it straight through. So
Mhm.
I give it I would at least give it an A- myself for going
And
up
it
by that.
passes
So
my
about
fast
90% on the glass.
Good.
10% off just because I had a few questions about the bodies and about what people what are they going to ask, and what's going on here. But again, I thought, well, maybe Howard is going to take care of all that.
Mhm.
My God, Pearl, what have you done? And help out. He's probably relieved to get rid of you don't have to have any in-laws. After he sits and thinks about it, he goes, thank God. I don't have to worry about the in-laws. But that would be another movie about Howard, right? So he's less lucky he got out of the war in one piece. So all I can say, knowing how war is. So anyway, that is our review. I think. You have anything else to say about Pearl? Sure. Kind of
Well,
short and
I was
sweet, just
gonna
like the
say,
movie.
it passed the fast forward test where I didn't fast forward it.
Uh,
And I did want to ask you about the scarecrow scene. What you
oh,
thought about that?
well, I guess they tied that into X, right? Now that scarecrow was, to me, was very scary. You know what I was thinking about when I was looking at that scarecrow?
Mm-mm.
I was thinking about Flip. And Flip being, because they said that Flip was the clown in the original Slumberland story. I wasn't thinking about Jason Momoa. I was thinking about the clown Flip in the original cartoon, which is so creepy, because that was a creepy kind of clownish looking thing, right?
Yeah,
Once it was on the ground. And
very.
so well, again, you could see that all that pent up sexual lust that she carried around with her, you know, she basically, I mean, remember she says in the X, she says, me and you are the same,
Mhm.
Maxine and Pearl are the same, because Pearl, they both want to be stars and will do anything to get to that point. Of course, I guess Pearl decided that, like when I had my little when I wanted to be an actor and all that stuff, I remember people would say, at one point I was in Colorado, and I think one of these agents I knew, he said that he talked to somebody in Los Angeles. No, it was another friend of mine. He said talk to an agent in Los Angeles, and the agent told him the difference between Colorado and Los Angeles is that, I mean, between what for you making it or whatever, is that you're in Colorado, you're not in Los Angeles. You got to be where it's happening, right? So Pearl stuck on that farm she's not going to get anywhere. Doesn't matter how good a dancer or how talented she is. She's got to go to the big city, to New York or to Los Angeles or to a certain extent San Francisco, but for sure Los Angeles and New York. Forget, or even Houston. I don't know, some other big city other than that little farm, right?
Mhm.
But that never entered her mind. That was another little problem I had with just get your
Right.
suitcase, get your little film magazines in your suitcase, get on the bus, and get the hell out of town, right?
Mhm.
It's like but I guess that didn't enter her mind. So there's another little issue that drops it from 100 to 90%. But as a watchable and entertaining film, that I thought I was looked in from beginning to end, mostly
Mhm.
because of the character and just watching her slowly, fall apart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which was kind of fascinating to watch. And Mia Goth is just seems to be a bit unhinged. The opposite of Gina Ortega, who's very, very control. Wednesday's very control, is a control freak, right? And this
Mhm.
one, was this girl a control freak? Not really. She had a hard time keeping anything in, right? She was very unrestrained. Couldn't control
Very.
her emotions or anything like that. So, Mia Goth and Ty West wrote the script. So I think it was a fine, it had problems, just story wise, plot holes and all that stuff. But as far as the character goes, I thought it was pretty cool to watch a kind of an in-depth study of a maniac. She was clearly insane, right? I'm not sure what you call it what the psychological definition of everything other than it's a psychomaniac, right? Psychopathic maniac. So anyway, so is there anything else?
That's all for me.
All right, I think that's our review for today for Pearl. Definitely, if you're a horror fan, it is definitely it has to be on your must watch list if you enjoy those kind of films. And so it's a little bit step above the slasher variety, right? It gives it a little bit more character development and things like that. It's just some random, guy in the shadows with a knife, right? That you see in a lot of movies.
Mhm.
They develop the characters very well, right before they get, develop the character, then kill them off, right? Which seems to be a formula for a lot of shows nowadays, but and in the past. But for this one, you get to look at the killer herself, very in depth, and so worth the watch.
I agree.
All right, thank you. Good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. This has been There, Seen That.
Jenna Ortega was the script girl in X, playing a supporting role to Mia Goth's Maxine, the porn actress.